Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of What She Said right here on redmediaradio.com. And if you're viewing us, welcome back to our podcast right here on YouTube. I'm your host Latif and also the owner of Anaj Health and Beauty. And you can find me on Facebook at INOJ Health and Beauty. And that's also where you can find What She Said, the card game for a woman, about woman, invented by a woman. And tonight I'm chatting with a special guest. Our guest co-host is Miss Tanielle Brew. And Tanielle, why don't you tell the listeners and viewers all about what it is that you do?
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having me today. So my name is Tanya Brew. I wear many hats. I have many roles.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a physician by trade. I'm a family medicine, obesity medicine physician. I'm also a life coach, and through my coaching, I started a business called Brew Wellness Collective, and we coach professional women who are overwhelmed and anxious and have been taking care of everyone else. And now they're ready to really start filling up their cup and taking care of themselves. So I help them to recommit to their values, develop some healthy habits, and learn some different self-care techniques
Mm-hmm.
so that they can just be their optimal selves.
Okay, all right. So I feel like this should be, instead of you being a co-host, a guest co-host today, I feel like I should be a client of yours because you literally described me to a T. and, and on that note, tonight's topic is actually going to be, that was a little overwhelming. So we're going to get more into what it is that you do, Tanielle. But since I want to call you Doc. Like, I feel so honored to be in your presence. So honored to be in your presence. I'm just happy for you. Like, the fact to see another black woman, I'm in her presence. On a personal note, a doctor. That is amazing, amazing. So tonight's topic is, that was a little overwhelming. And Doc, we're going to let you start. We're talking about the men, situations where we may say, you know what, this is just a little overwhelming. Like, it's just too much.
Yeah. Oh, so should I talk about like dating?
Yeah.
And it's been overwhelming. Okay. So well, let me give you a little backstory on me. In about 10 days from today, this is going to air probably closer to my anniversary, will be my 1 year wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you. And I'm 36. So before that, I was a very single lady, living life, having all the adventures. So yeah, there have been plenty of times where it's been overwhelming. And a lot of times where it's been overwhelming is where I was with people and our values didn't line up, or they wanted something that I wasn't able to give.
Mm.
I know myself, like I know, and even though I'm from the South, I wish I was this more traditional, let me cook, let me do all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me at my core. Will I make sure we eat? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Will I make sure that our house is clean? Sure. Am I going to do those particular things? No.
Right.
But I'll make sure we have food and I'll make sure our house is clean by somebody else. But
Okay.
anyway, so
What she said, I'm not there yet, but what she said.
But no, I had this one guy who I dated years ago, and he just kept trying to make me into like this housewife type person. And I kept trying to tell him, like, that's not me. He was like, but what if we have a party and I need to have food cooked? Well, first, I didn't plan that party.
Right.
Two, there are all these restaurants near where you live. We are able to order food, but he really wanted me to be in the kitchen and cook. And I'm like, at first I'm like, okay, well maybe I can change to fit this guy's mold. I'm like, but no, I kept seeing myself trying to shift to be this other person.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't want to do that. It became very overwhelming being with him because I kept trying to change myself to be a different version of myself just to fit what he wanted. And I'm not going to do it.
What she said. Not at all. Not at all. I'm trying to think, for the men, that was a bit overwhelming. Sometimes just the morning list, the to-do list. It's like, I'm like you, I do have children, and I have children of all different ages. They're from grown to 8 months old. So it's like, my mom responsibilities didn't go anywhere. They're grown, but they're boys. And as much as young men would like to think they don't need you, it's like they need you for the most serious things. Like my sons come to me for help with the things that I'm like, okay, I thought you could handle this now, Never thought I would be so involved in anybody else's relationship as much as they come to me with relationship stuff. So between them and then just being a mother to the younger ones, it's like, and then you come with this to-do list, it's like, all right, this is a bit overwhelming. I don't know who I'm saying this to. Am I saying it to you, the children? But somebody got to slice some of this in half. Some of this stuff got to go to the back burner or all the way out the window. I don't care where it goes at. Just don't put it in my lap. So I do think that, when you're in a partnership, especially if it's business related and, love life relationship, and they want everything, it's like, all right, this is overwhelming right now. So either you calm it down, or somebody's going to wake up one day and everybody's going to be looking for mommy and wondering where I went at, and I'll be gone somewhere on a train, dazed out, daydreaming about this new life that I'm going to be living. I don't know where or how, but I'm like, I need to get away. So yeah,
I can understand that, because literally before we got on this call, I was having a conversation with my husband just about how we communicate about what's going on. The way he does stuff is more just relaxed. I'm more the person who will create the to-do list to say, these are the things that need to be accomplished. That's my kind of style. But he's more of like, okay, well, I think I did it. Maybe I did it out. And I'm like, the way my brain works, the kind of relaxed feeling of things makes me want to explode.
Really?
It makes me want to explode. Like, if you say you're going to do something, let me know when you're going to do it, and that is done. Because if not, it's going to stay on my brain, my mental to-do list, and then I'm going to feel like I have to do it later, even though that person said they were going to do it. So that can be frustrating. And more of it is just communicating, like, how does the person communicating what they need make you feel, and how to come up with a compromise. Me saying 50,000 things need to be done as soon as somebody wakes up in the morning, probably not the best way to communicate what needs to be done.
What she said.
Probably not the best way, because they just open up their eyes. But like, when I say we, me and my husband have sat down and say, like, okay, he's in charge of like the trash and the outside of the house and certain things. I'm in charge of making sure there's food in the refrigerator. Certain things within the house, like I have certain responsibilities. So if there's something within, like for example, the trash was full, and I just told him, I was like, yo, the trash is overflowing, and I could hear him now taking out the trash. So I know, he knows that when I come to him about certain things, that is on his kind of to-do list. It's just in his realm of responsibility. So it doesn't feel overwhelming. It's kind of like, oh yeah, this is what I gotta do anyway.
Wow. So basically, I would drive you crazy because we're the opposite. I'm the type of person like your husband, like, okay, I'll get it done. Like, I literally just started writing stuff down. I'm like, all right, this is too much. Just write it down, because I literally would try to store everything in my head, everything. And then something pops up, and then I'm running around in my best state, confusion, getting things done. The way you are, more like, composed, I would drive you crazy. I would really drive you crazy.
Yeah, well, I think everyone has their positive traits, and being more relaxed with things means that you're probably more open to having a lot of different experiences, which is great. I literally have lists and the ability to write lists for me all the time. I have a journal right here next to me. I don't play about having a list. We have a joint calendar, so we keep everything within the calendar, any kind of dates, or even our list that we have on our phone, we can share. We being me and my husband can share our list. So if there's something that, like when we were planning the wedding, we would have a running list of stuff, and when he did something, he would check it off. When I did something, I would check it off. But yeah, because I have ADHD, if I just try to store everything in my brain, forget about it. And with work, if I try to store everything in my brain, I know that I would not be successful. It just wouldn't work and someone would
Yeah.
be hurt. So that's when I got into, okay, well, let me start at least writing stuff down, or put it in my phone, or I'll even make a voice note if I'm like on a walk or somewhere where I just don't feel like typing. I just need whatever that memory that pops up or that reminder, I need to put it somewhere so that I can remember it later.
Okay. Well, what she said, we're on the same note on one thing. I buy the journals because they look nice. Do I do I actually utilize them for what they're supposed to be utilized for? Probably not. You'll probably see some pages where I've doodled a little bit, and then my daughters have little ones, so they're, of course, because they see it, they just have to have that paper. It's like, no, I have some scrap paper. No, I want the paper out of that book. So I'm getting there. I buy the journals. I do buy them.
And that's okay. Literally, I remember I had one journal that I started writing in, and then I picked it back up a few years later. And I remember the date said 2018 was the last time I wrote in it, and then I wrote in it again in like 2022. So I think just having it there as a tool, even if it doesn't have to be perfect. If your daughter or granddaughter just scribbles in it for a page or two, okay. Someone was able to put something on those pages. If you're able to pick that book up later, pick it up later and then write something, great. It served its purpose, and that's fine.
What she said. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the overwhelming situations we find ourselves in with other women right here on redmediaradio.com.
Ethereal Collection.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you.
Ethereal Collection, the fashion line inspired by Red Media Radio.
All right, everybody, we're back, and I'm talking to Dr. Tanielle Brew. I had to put that doctor in there. I had to put it in there. So we're speaking with Dr. Tanielle Brew. And Tanielle, what is it? What is your brand? One more time for the listeners.
Oh, I am the CEO of Brew Wellness Collective.
Okay. All right, and we're just talking about overwhelming situations because it's actually a part of what you do.
Yes.
For other people. So we're going to get more into that. Right now, we're going to talk about the situations we find ourselves with other women where we're like, okay, that was a little overwhelming. Hey, what's going on, sis? All right, Doc, go ahead.
Oh, goodness. I surround myself with women, so I'm trying to come up with like one or two examples. I'll come up with some work examples. Okay. I've already talked about how I'm pretty much a pretty organized person and all that. Sometimes, because I'm very open and people want to talk to me, they want to give me all their stuff, meaning like all their bags. They had a bad day, now I need to hear about their bad day, and I just become that person that they kind of decompress with, and that could be overwhelming for me. I see that. I saw that happening to me so many times. Even I could just be walking back to my office and somebody wants to tell me every sad thing that happened to them. I'm like, goodness, do I have a sign on my back that says, come talk to me about your sadness? I mean, I'm open, I'm here, but goodness gracious. So one thing that was helpful for me was letting people know, especially when it comes to like medical stuff, if you have a medical question, appointment. Like, I don't want to sideline you and just give you half truths about what's going on with your medical stuff. And then having certain times where I'm just not talking to anyone. At lunchtime, I need to eat. I need to decompress from all the people that I've already seen. I don't need to hear about anybody else's stuff but my own stuff. And I even had to have that with my family because my family would just call me all the time. Usually female members of my family with all their stuff. And it used to be like late at night before I go to bed and I can't sleep. So I'm like, look, y'all stressing me out. If y'all got some, actually, what I did was I would start calling my mom and certain people when I was driving home from work. So whatever they needed to say, it needed to be said during that time. And when I got home, I would hang up. And I told them don't call me at night because I need to go to sleep. And when I hear about all your bad stuff at night, I can't go to sleep. And then I can't be this beautiful person in the morning.
What she said, I definitely agree, but I have to confess, if I knew you personally, I probably would be one of those people every single time. Like, wait a minute, my cousin Tanielle's a doctor, or my sister Tanielle's a doctor, or my friend, let me call and I probably would be volunteering other people. I'll get right back to you. Let me just call my friend Tanielle. So I would definitely be guilty of that. So good for you that we don't know each other on that level yet. But at least I know now not to do that. But for me, let me see, for women, I think the most overwhelming situations for me where I might say, okay, that was a little overwhelming. I would say certain conversations, because some women don't know what you don't want to hear, especially when it comes to like their relationship stuff. It's like, I don't know how to put this, but it's like when the times are good with their guy or whatever, and it's like, you're telling me how good it was. That's a little overwhelming. I don't really want to have that visual. That's a bit much. It's like, it's a thin line between girl talk and I don't even know what to call it, but I've definitely found myself in that situation. It's quite overwhelming. The other thing with I would say with females that I find overwhelming is like if I'm going to an event or something and my friends are like helping me, get it all together. And it's like, and you need this and you need that. And, you have this for your hair, you have that. And it's like, okay, this is overwhelming because by the time you get done with me, I probably won't even feel comfortable sitting down, afraid that I'm going to mess something up. It's different when I do myself because it's like, okay, I messed, whatever, I did it. But if I feel like somebody else put the energy into, doing my hair or makeup or whatever it is, and if I mess it up, then I'm gonna feel like, oh God, so it's just like overwhelming. I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna look a mess, just let me look a mess. Don't help me, because then I'll feel uncomfortable because I'm not tomboy, but I'm not like the girliest, preppiest, like charm school type either. So if I mess something up, I'm gonna feel bad and it can become overwhelming.
Yeah, and what I also heard you say was you'll have somebody else's name associated with you messing up, and I say that in air quotes because I don't think you're messing up. You're just being yourself. But yeah, that's another thing. You don't want to disappoint that other person who did all this stuff to help you kind of glam up and do all that. Yeah,
exactly what she said. So what does your company offer women like me that's just a mess?
Well, first of all, the first thing we'll offer is that you're not a mess. You are a person, you're having an experience of life, and there are probably areas where you want to shift some things. You want to change up some habits or create some boundaries and all that. So what I do with Brew Wellness Collective, we're actually starting to expand now, but right now we're just doing coaching. We're doing one-on-one coaching. We'll definitely start some group coaching, which I'm very excited about in the near future, within the next probably month or 2 months. But the goal with Brew Wellness Collective is to really help people to just understand what they want, what they need all the time. Okay. Because you mentioned with yourself, you have children. I think you said do you have grandchildren as well?
Not yet. On the way.
Not yet. Okay. So you have children, you have a significant other, you have businesses, you have a lot of just people and things that need your attention. And when a lot of your energy is focused outward, you cannot spend as much most people tend to not spend as much energy trying to figure out what they need for themselves. So it's figuring out whether it's creating a morning practice to say, okay, before I start doing all the things for all the people in my life, let me just take a second to check in with what I need. Let me make sure I have my water. This is my bottle of water right next to me to make sure I'm at least staying hydrated. Let me make sure I at least have some vegetables already prepared in the refrigerator so that I'm trying to eat something healthy because I'm going to be running. Let me see what kind of physical activities I like to do so that I can try to incorporate that. Like for me right now, we have a little dog. So, I'm in Florida. So we just recovered from the hurricane. So only thing I've been doing really is walking my dog and doing a little yoga. So that right there is the physical activity I do. And then seeing what is draining you. Because sometimes there's some energy drains that we can put some boundaries around. A lot of times where there's something that's sucking your energy, seeing where we can either push that away or put some time limits around it, or have some kind of distance, or have a different way of thinking about whatever that thing is, so that it's not taking so much of our energy away. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. I'm gonna start practicing some of that when the show is over. Actually, I am. I'm taking the tips. Trust me, I'm taking the tips. So, what is like your client base? What are some of your clients like? What are some of their backgrounds?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients are similar to me. So they're either physicians or in the healthcare field.
Okay.
Because a lot of healthcare people are burnt out, like physicians, nurse practitioners, physician assistants, just nurses in general. And then people in education, because that's another field that they are doing so much for a lot of people and they are very burned out. Of course, I'm African American, so I attract other people who are like people of color. So definitely African Americans or just different people of color in general usually are a part of my clientele. Women, I want to take care of a lot of men, but it seems like women are my people. I had a webinar on Tuesday actually, and it was all women. I had one guy register, but he didn't come up. But the rest were all women. So usually it's like these professional people or people who are just serving people all day in some capacity, and then a person of color, and then women. Usually that's the kind of person I see.
Yeah, I could see that though, because I'll just say the human services field is very draining.
Yeah.
It's very draining. I've worked off and on. I was a long-term substitute teacher for a few years. And then when COVID, I did it a little bit through Zoom. And that was like even more draining because you're worried about the children. You can see some backgrounds. You can kind of get a feel for, the type of parents they're dealing with. And it was definitely draining. It made it harder to discipline them because now I'm getting the inside look of why you may have acted out the way you did while you were in class. But even like in the class, like, yeah, it can turn into therapy sessions. Like the total lesson can just be pushed aside. And it's been times where I've had children like taking turns telling me their stories. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We need to call the counselor in here because this isn't my job. And you're pulling on some heartstrings right now, and you're really, I'm feeling like, okay, my whole day my brain is going to be just thinking about these certain students that told me these stories. So I can definitely see teachers using your services.
Absolutely. My sister, actually, goodness, a lot of people around me are teachers. My sister is a vice or assistant principal. My husband is a teacher, and my best friend is now a teacher, but I think she's also in the principal role as well. So a lot of people who are like close to my heart are in education, and I just see how everything you described about what's going on and having this now super in-depth vision of what's going on in the students' lives, but then now they're back in person and COVID is still real. They're like trying to protect themselves and protect their family, and then there's increased demands and the kids are behind. There's just a lot of pressures. There are a lot of pressures. And people are just still, I think people have a little bit of PTSD, maybe not that extreme, but a little bit of stress still pent up from all the stuff we've been through over the past several years that we just haven't had a chance to be able to decompress from, because it was COVID, then it's quarantine, then all just people dying and all lockdown. Now we got monkeypox. We got all these different
Monkeypox,
things.
yes.
Like, really? Golly.
If COVID, I said, darn, well, I guess the people like me, I wasn't necessarily scared of COVID. I think we actually had it like in the very beginning before they even let everybody go. But I said, okay, now you got me with the monkeypox. You got me. If you were trying to scare me, you got me. You got me with that one. Oh my God. I don't even wanna. I'm just like, yeah, so it's definitely overwhelming. I could definitely see people reaching out to you for your services at this time. And probably for like the next decade.
Yeah, because we're all going to be stressed out. And we all, because some people are just natural givers. I consider myself someone who naturally gives to other people. But it's having a balance. I'm never going to be someone who's like, I don't care about nobody. It's all me. No. I am always going to be giving to people. But that same energy of me giving, some of that giving is to me.
Yes.
Some of that I have to give to myself so that I can still do all the things I want to do for everyone else. That is the difference. It's having a balance, knowing that your natural tendency is to give. And that's for most women or most people in some kind of caring or giving industry. We're going to give, period. But it's knowing how to give back to ourselves so that we don't become depleted in doing all the giving that we want to do naturally.
Yes. But she said, I could not agree even more anymore. But we're going to take a quick break and we're going to go a little bit deeper into what it is that you do. I want you to let the listeners know where they can find you. And we're just going to talk all about Dr. Tanielle Brew and her brand, which is
Brew Wellness Collective.
All right. We'll be right back right here on redmediaradio.com.
You cannot be a believer until you see your old life and the misery thereof and want to change.
You will find true success and happiness if you have only one goal. There really is only one, and that is this: to fulfill the highest, most truthful expression of yourself as a human being. You want to max out your humanity by using your energy to lift yourself up, your family, and the people around you. Theologian Howard Thurman said it best. He said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive.
All right, everybody, we're back. And tonight, me and Dr. Tanielle Brew, we discussed things that were a little overwhelming with the men in our lives. We talked a little bit about overwhelming situations with other women in our lives. And now we're going to just talk strictly about Dr. Tanielle Brew and everything that she has to offer. So first, why don't you let the listeners know where they can find you, where they can find your company, and your contact information.
Of course. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So right now, my website is currently being built, but it will be done soon. It'll be brewwellnesscollective.com. So if you go there today, it's probably not done. Give me about 3 weeks. It'll be done.
Okay.
But right now, if you want to contact me directly, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can search for Brew Wellness Collective. It's spelled just like it sounds. Brew, my last name, BREW, Wellness and Collective, just spelled normally, on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And you can connect with me, see all of my offerings. I create reels occasionally.
Okay.
But we're posting every day, just content to help people to come up with different self-care strategies and to normalize the conversation around taking care of yourself while still caring for other people.
Okay. And is this do you do in person? Do you do it virtually? Do you do a little bit of both? How would it go if someone was to contact you and say, I need her services?
Yeah, so right now it's all virtual.
Okay.
Which I love because it gives me so much flexibility. I have clients in several different states. When I have my webinar, it's not just people locally here in Florida. it was people from all over. Farthest, I think, was Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I like having the virtual option. Eventually, I'll probably have some in-person like retreat type situations just to give everyone a moment to like decompress and really fully get into themselves. But that's down the line, probably sometime next year. But right now, it's all virtual, and I love it.
Okay. And you said that most of your client base are women. So to any men that's listening, I know this is what she said, but I'm sure some men eavesdrop a little and listen to what this ladies have to say. Well, what do you have to say to those men that may be saying, I could use that, but I don't know, bro. That's a little I'm kind of embarrassed, I ain't trying to reach out. I can handle life on my own. What would you say to a man that's interested, but they just have those masculine feelings that, nah, I can't do it?
Well, I always tell people, go back and try doing it on your own. See how you do. But in most areas of your life, you improve because someone has supported you in some way. Someone has either been a mentor or given advice or whatever. And if you really look at a lot of successful people, they have coaches. Most successful people have some kind of coach that is helping them through. And I know for me, and this is not from a masculine standpoint, this is just a person who I feel like myself is a semi-successful person.
Yes.
I have had several coaches. But I was not raised with a silver spoon. I was raised by a single mother and my grandma. They took care of me. From South Georgia, not a small country town, but like from very, very humble beginnings. I had my first job when I was like 15, 16. I raised myself. And if you don't have like a parent that is going to give you all the advice, then you have to take it on yourself to create the community that is going to uplift you and give you what you need to take yourself to whatever level it is you want to be at. So if you want to stay where you are, okay, sounds amazing. Great. Keep doing what you're doing. That's fine. There's no problem. But if there's some information that you don't know, but you want to know because you know that it's going to help you in the future, regardless of who it's coming from, get that information.
Right. And one more time, where can they find you? I just like to say it several times because, when we listen, sometimes we're like, oh man, I missed that one part. So I always have my guests come on and say it several times so that way they can reach out. No excuses. Just get it started.
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is on Instagram, Brew Wellness Collective. Brew, BREW, Wellness, WELLNESS. And then Collective, COLLECTIVE, Brew Wellness Collective.
Okay. All right. And I liked how you were mentioning, because this was me for a long time. It's actually me presently, but only because I just don't, I really don't have. This is why I need your services because I know I could use the help, but I'm also, for the most part, I've always been independent. Well, one, I'm the oldest girl of 9 children. So I had to be independent from my younger siblings. My only 2 older siblings were my 2 brothers. And one, we fought all the time. And the other one was just, the big brother. So I have that personality trait of wanting to handle everything on my own, getting myself out of situations. How do we break that barrier and just say, how do you handle clients like me that's like, I may say no matter what you say, I may look at you and feel like, yeah, but my way is better, I'm gonna still pay you, but I don't think I can do it your way. How do you handle those type of clients, those strong independent clients?
That's fine. I feel like I'm a strong independent person myself. Sometimes people tell you things to plant seeds in you. So I can give you I call it a knowledge nugget or a piece of advice, and it might not be something that you want to do right now, but it's going to come back later and you're like, you know what? She did tell me that. I'm glad I got the information that's useful. I know there's some things my grandma told. My grandma died when I was in college. There's some things that she told me as a child that when she told me meant nothing to me. I literally was saying things that my grandma told me in my webinar on Tuesday.
Wow.
So It's okay if in the moment when I try to give advice or if I'm trying to support that person, they're not ready to receive it. Okay, maybe adjusting, making it something small, making the goal a little bit smaller. We don't have to change everything all at once. Oh, now suddenly you got to let somebody take over all your finances. No, let's find a small little task to start building your trust muscle or your being able to receive support muscle or being able to receive compliments. Even when it comes to receiving support, one of the first things I did was we have a grocery store here in the South called Publix. And the person who bags your groceries can take your groceries out to the car. I used to always say no. But then I was like, you know what? I want to be comfortable with receiving support from other people. So every time, even if I have one bag, yes, I need help. Yes, I need help. When I go to Chipotle, sometimes I'm always like, oh, can I get, because some people are afraid of asking for extra or modifying, or they're afraid of using their voice. When I go to Chipotle, you know what? I want half the amount of rice. Oh, a little bit more. Can I have a little extra of that? It's me asking for what I want in a safe space. So it's creating those safe spaces to build the muscle of using your voice, of support, of trust, of all that. So then you can then use that in other situations.
Right. And that works from both sides of the table. That works for the strong, independent, and then I'll add outspoken people. And then you have the more reserved people. So that kind of handles both sides, because no matter how strong and independent you are, we all have those reservations in certain areas of our lives and in certain situations. So that really works well. Your program works well. So is your program, is it individualized, or do you have like a standard format that you start everyone out with, or do you just strictly get like a personal overview of your client and go from there?
So a little bit of both. So first session, it's deep diving, and actually it's the first session and the kind of intro session. I want to know everything about you, your personality. We'll do some questionnaires to figure out your values, just knowing all of your wants. You're probably going to be a little annoyed because most people are used to like talking about others. They're not so used to talking about themselves for long periods of time.
Which is
So, the first 2 sessions is really trying to solidify what are the wants, the needs, the values, goals, where some boundaries need to be put in, what are some of the energy drains, and then we can create an individualized plan from there. But it's hard to make a plan if you don't understand what's going on with that person. And me taking that time to really talk to someone, really deep dive and dig into what's motivating them, where they want their life to be, is important. Because I don't want everyone's life to be just like mine. I want the person's life to be like how they want their life to be. And that's the difference. Of course, I can make everyone's life look like mine because I know that menu, but that's not going to make them happy.
Right.
So those first 2 sessions of really sitting down to say, okay, let's figure out their why. What values are important? What are your goals? What pisses you off that you just really want to work on? What are some habits that you want to really make sure you ingrain in your life that's important to you, so that we make sure that we focus on that over the 12 weeks.
Okay. All right. And it's 12 weeks. That was going to be my next question.
So it's 2 options. There's a 6-week one, and then there's a 12-week one. The 6-week one is more of a structured program just because it's shorter. That one is more of just clarifying. A lot of people have no idea what they want or need anymore because they are so focused on other people. So that 6-week program is really, it deep dives into like, what do you need? What kind of support? Like literally there's 1 week where we are just talking about how we can bring in support into a person's life. That's it. How can a person be supported? And coming up with different strategies based off of what they have around them and being creative. What roles do you play in different people's lives in your own life to see, is it a role that you want? Because sometimes we have roles, because you mentioned that even though you weren't the oldest child, you kind of took on the responsibility as like the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my clients are the same way. You pick up that, oh, I'm the oldest, I have to take care of everything, I have to take care of the family. And it's not just when you're a child, that's forever.
Yeah.
But do you have to carry that for the rest of your life? Is it something you have to carry? I don't know. It's up to you.
I don't know.
So that's something that can be examined.
I don't know. At this point, I'm kind of enjoying the younger ones kind of repaying me a little bit.
Okay.
They kind of help me out now with my children, so it was some good karma.
There you go. See? So, and that's a role that you like. So if that's a role that you like, okay, perfect. Let's just optimize that to make sure that you're fully supported in that role.
Right. What she said. I hope they're listening. What she said. Fully support this. All right. So last question. Where do you see, I don't want to mess your company up, Brew Wellness Collective in the next 5 years?
Ooh, I am so excited about Brew Wellness Collective in the next 5 years. So, 1, I'll definitely have a podcast.
Okay.
2, I want to have a conference and literally just bringing people together to learn about, because I don't have all the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are other people who have knowledge about other things. So come for a weekend and learn everything you want to learn about caring about yourself. So that would be amazing. And I want to have a membership, like an online membership, so people can they can just come to this. If they want to do some yoga, they can click. Oh, there's a yoga class I can do. If they want to do some exercise, click on there. Meditation, got that. And then the biggest thing is, and I talked about it before, was retreats.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to step away from your life for just a moment, like a weekend, to disconnect so you can reconnect with yourself. I have done that several times for different reasons, and that's really helped to recharge me and to refocus me towards my goal and towards my family, towards whatever it is I want to do. So that is my ultimate goal, is to create different retreat opportunities or just like a pause opportunities for people to just receive.
Yes.
Be in the receptive mode. You don't have to do anything. You just come and here's the itinerary. Choose what you want to do. This is all available to you. I just need you to show up. Pay your money and show up.
Right.
And experience. And that's it.
Okay. And what about other countries? Are you open to other countries outside of the U.S.?
Oh yeah, totally. I say we, me and my husband, we were in Jamaica for our honeymoon, and I started looking at some of the Airbnbs there, and a couple of my colleagues have different houses and stuff that you can, like an Airbnb type situation. So I wouldn't mind doing that. It's actually economically better to do it out of the country, because I know I looked at one place in Jamaica, it came with a butler, a butler, a chef, you got a massage, and it fit like 16 to 20 people. So you get a lot more when you go to another country versus if I did the same thing here in America.
Wow. Yeah, that would be dangerous for me. I would have never come back. I would a butler and a chef. I'll make it work. Who's hiring on the island? Because I'm staying here. There's no way.
Yeah, before I do the retreat, I'm going to have to test it out myself for at least a week, bring me and my family. We're just going to test it out to make sure it's a good deal. I'm not going to bring no clients there if I haven't tested out all the services.
What she said, right. Everything up, that wasn't right. Got to stay another week. I got to make sure you get it right. I am so with you on that. Well, before we end this beautiful broadcast, is there anything else you want the listeners and viewers to know about Miss Dr. Tanielle Brew?
I just want them to know that, in case no one ever told them today, that they are worthy, they are valuable, they're creative, and I am just happy that they're taking this time to listen to this broadcast. If they ever need any support in any way, they can find me on Instagram at Brew Wellness Collective. We're going to have a lot of different offerings at different price points. So if you don't want the one-on-one coaching, we're going to have like a 10-day gratitude challenge to really help, and some different yoga stuff. There's just going to be a lot of different offerings available. So please just connect. And when something comes up that you like, do it. And even if you don't do it with me, make sure that you're doing something that fills you up. It's important because there's a lot of things in this world that can drain our energy. So we have to be intentional and conscious about doing things that lift us up, that make us happy, and that fill our cup up. So whatever you choose to do and whoever you choose to work with, just make that decision for yourself. It's very important.
Yes. Amen to that. And before we end, I just want to say my name's Latif. I'm your host. And then I have my lovely guest co-host. And you just heard her say she is the owner of Brew Wellness Collective. And you can find her on, is it Facebook also?
Yes.
Instagram and Facebook. And her name is Dr.Tanielle Brew. Tanielle, it's been a pure pleasure working with you. As I continue to try to get myself together, I'll probably be reaching out to you also for some of those services to see, if there's anything you can do for this puzzle, put some pieces together. But, you can find me on Facebook at Inoj Health and Beauty. That's INOJ Health and Beauty. And that's also where you can find What She Said, the card game for a woman, about woman, invented by this woman. And this has been What She Said right here on redmediaradio.com. Dr. Tanielle Brew, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, everybody. Until next week.
You cannot be a believer until you see your old life and the misery thereof and want to change.
You will find true success and happiness if you have only one goal. There really is only one, and that is this: to fulfill the highest, most truthful expression of yourself as a human being. You want to max out your humanity by using your energy to lift yourself up, your family, and the people around you. Theologian Howard Thurman said it best. He said, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive."